higher, you'll reach your desire. Put some color on those cheekbones. It's never too late for you to get well known. And when they do, they'll cherish you. And when they do, they'll cherish you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, as you saw at the beginning of the video, we are going to be crocheting a mesh tote shopping bag. I've always wanted to crochet one, and now because it is spring, summertime, I decided to give it a go, and it turned out amazing. I'm not sure if you like these kind of bags, but I love it. I always take one with me, especially when I go to picnics, to the beach, shopping. I'm always taking a tote bag with me, and this one, I think it's the best one because it's so big and you can fit everything inside this bag, especially when you go yarn shopping. I did, as you saw at the beginning, I did put a couple yarns inside this bag to show you how it looks when you have things inside, and it looks really, really good. I'm impressed, and I love this bag already so much, and I can see that I'm going to be wearing this bag every time I go out, so stay tuned for that, because I'll probably take a few stories, a few pictures when I'm wearing this bag outside, and then I can share that with you. So I'm pretty excited about this bag. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was made with a lot of love. You know that all my videos are made with a lot of love to you, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this bag. It's super fun and the quickest bag I ever done. I made in 2 days, like 2 days watching Netflix and recording and explaining to you. So I'm pretty sure that you can make this bag in like one day, probably 2-3 hours in the garden, like bathing under the sun, listening to some music, and you can make this bag super quick to make, and I'm pretty sure you will love it. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, make sure to leave your massive thumbs up as you always do. Also, don't forget to subscribe and to turn on the notification bell to receive a notification every time I post a new video. So enjoy the video everyone, and let's begin with today's tutorial. So these are all the materials we are going to be using for today's video. It's very little materials. I'm super excited about this project. You don't have to use a lot of things, and also it's super fun to crochet. So starting with our yarn, I'm using this beautiful yarn here. Look at all these shades that we have going on. Oh my god, so pretty. And this one is from Fasten.com. It's the Downy color. This is not the very first time I use this yarn. I have used for another project for a bucket hat that I loved so much using this yarn. So beautiful, so soft, and at the same time is 100% cotton. So super excited about this yarn. This shade here, it's beige, and it's the 2638, and also it's a sports weight number 2 if you are wondering. And for the tools here, we have a measuring tape so I can measure everything for you, a 3.5mm hook, a tapestry needle, and a small pair of scissors. Yes, that's all the materials we are going to be using for today's project. So now let's move on into the tutorial. So we are going to be starting at the very beginning of the bag, which is the opening, and then we are going to be creating the kind of mesh, the fishnet, that it's basically the bag. All right, so we are first going to be starting here with a slip knot, and then you're going to be choosing the sizing that you want right at the beginning. I decided to do 14 centimeters for this very first part of the bag. So I'm going to be leaving my measuring tape here so we can measure the chain. So I'm going to be starting my chain right here. I'm planning on doing a chain of 30. So just do your chain and measure to see if it reaches the measurement that you want. I'm doing 14. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my chain here first, just to begin. So I have here my chain of 30. And if I place it here towards my measuring tape, it's a chain of exactly 14 centimeters. I'm not stretching the chain or anything, just measuring like this. So once you have your chain ready, we are going to move on into the very first row, and we are going to be creating single crochets now. Single crochets for a couple of rows. So we are going to first skip that very first chain that we have here. We are not counting this loop from the hook, and we are also going to be using the back loops here as the little stitch for this very first row, because then the finishing looks a little bit neater. So if we turn here at the back, we will see these little loops here at the back. So these ones here, these are the ones that we are going to be using. So for this very first one, we are going to be skipping the first one, and we are going to be creating the single crochet into the second one. So turn here to the back, skip that first one, go into the second loop here at the back. The first one is always a little bit hard to get. There we go. Make sure that it's nice and tight, the loops here on the hook. You're going to pull up a loop and then yarn over, pull through. So that's a single crochet. And we are going to be creating single crochets going across here, our chain. And we are going to be having 29 single crochets in total. So keep that number in mind, because we are going to be counting all the other rows too as we go up. So just create single crochets going all the way down the chain. So I have here my last chain to do. This is chain number 29. So single crochet number 29. There we go, because we have used one of the chains here for this very first single crochet. So now we are going to move on into the next row, which is the same way that you're going to be doing all of the other rows for this very beginning right here of the bag. So the very first thing you have to do is to chain one and turn project. And then right here we have this very first stitch here, the very first single crochet. That's going to be our very first stitch. So create your very first single crochet right here. The chain one that we created at the beginning doesn't count as a stitch. All right, so now we are just going to be creating single crochets going down, following the base of our project right here. So we have 29 stitches, so 29 single crochets. So when we get here at the end, we will have single crochet number 27, 28 and 29. That's why I always count at least for the very first rows, just to make sure that you are following the correct amount of single crochets and stitches that you have to do. So 27, 28, and then 29 is going to be right on top of the very first single crochet that we've created. There is a little stitch here, the V as I call it. So that's going to be our last single crochet. From here it's going to be a little bit easier to find the last stitch. As you can see here, it's not the little angled stitch, it's the V right before that, as you can see here. So now I'm just gonna do one more with you. So chain one, turn project, go into that very first stitch, single crochet stitch, single crochet, and then single crochet all the way down. And then I'll meet you right at the end to show you the end one more time. So here we have the last two stitches. So here will be my last two single crochets. All right, so that's how I'm going to be doing this very first part right here. So this is what I have so far, and I have to do as many rows until I reach 4 centimeters. Right now I have 3 rows because I'm using single crochets. I do like to use a row counter just to be sure, because single crochets are super hard to count when you don't have a row counter. You can always mark it on a paper if you want. So I have here 3 rows, which is 1.5 centimeters, and I have to do until I reach 4 centimeters. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I think it's probably gonna be around 9 rows, but I will check that with you when I have all the rows completed. So I'm just going to be continuing here, creating all the rows that I have to do, and then I will be back once I have them completed. So here we have the rows completed. I have here 10 rows in total, and that is exactly 4 centimeters, as you can see. So once you have this completed, we can now move on into the mesh part of the bag, which are the little loops that we are going to be creating. The loops, you can also choose the sizing that you want for them. The smaller you do, the smaller the gaps will be in the bag, in the shopping bag, and the larger you do, the larger the gaps in the bag will be. So I'm doing a chain of 6 for each of my loops. So from here where we left off, we are going to be chaining 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we are going to be turning project. We are going to skip this very first stitch here, and we are going to go into the second one, and then right here we are going to be creating a slip stitch, which is getting this first loop and passing through the second one, just like this. And then from here we are going to chain 6 again, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are gonna go right into the next stitch available, so no skipping, and then slip stitch, chain 6, go into the next stitch available and slip stitch. So this is what we are going to be doing for this very first row. So continue, so chain 6, 5 and 6, go into the next stitch available. So this one here was the previous one, go into the next one and slip stitch. So this is how the little loops will look like once you have a few completed. So now I'm just going to be continuing with the loops, creating them into every stitch until I reach here at the end, and then I'll be back to show you how to finish this row here off, the very first row here with the loops. So I've got here into my last stitch. This one is stitch number 29, which is single crochet number 29. This is going to be the last loop that I'm going to be creating, and this one is loop number 28, so we are going to be having 28 loops in total, just because we have skipped this little stitch here. I just think that that looks a little bit better, that's why I skip this stitch here, because then it looks very similar to all of the little loops here that follows this very first one. But if you want, you can, but it's going to be quite close together right here, so that's why I'm doing 28 loops rather than 29. All right, so now let's move on into the second row from this pattern right here. So we are going to first chain 6, 5 and 6, turn project, and now we are going to be using our little loops here as the stitch. So you're gonna go through the very first loop right at the top, and then right here we are going to be creating a slip stitch. So this is the very first one. If you want, you can place a stitch marker here to know that this is your first loop. I'm not going to, but you can if you want. So now let's move on into the next loop, which is gonna go right here at the top. So chain 6, 4, 5 and 6, and then we are gonna go right on top of the next loop and then slip stitch. As you can see, our little mesh, it's already forming, and then follow the same thing, chain 6, and then go into the next loop and slip stitch right on top. All right, so this is the second row, and also what we are going to be doing throughout this entire project basically. The bag, it's actually this pattern. So this is what we are doing. So now I'm just going to be continuing here with my second row, and then I'll meet you right at the end. So when you get here at the end, you will follow the same steps. So chain 6 first, and then you're going to be going into the last loop, and you're going to be slip stitching right on top of that loop. So this is the last loop from the second row. So here we have the second row completed. You can see that it's a little bit curly because we are adding quite a lot of loops into here, the next row right after the single crochet. So it's going to be a little bit curly and curvy, as you can see, but it's going to be better once we add more rows, and it's going to be straighter too, and it's going to look super cute. So this is the second row completed. As you can see, we have the first loops, and now we have the second row of loops. So we had 28 loops into the first row, and now we also have 28 loops into the second row. This is something that you can count at the beginning just to make sure that you are doing the right amount of loops. So now we are going to be doing the next row together, and then all of the others I'm going to be doing off the camera because it's basically following the same steps until you have the sizing of the bag you want. So now let's move on into row number 3 now, and it's basically following the same steps as row number 2. So first we are going to be chaining 6, 4, 5, and 6, turn project, find that very first loop, which is here, this very first chain of 6, and then right on top we are going to be creating a slip stitch. Chain 6, and then right on top into the next loop, slip stitch, chain 6, find the next loop and slip stitch right on top. So I'm just going to be following the same steps here, and then I'll meet you right at the end. So I got here at the end. This one here, it's loop number 27. So we need one more. So I'm going to chain 6. And then the last one is going to be this one that it's right on the side. This one, it's loop number 28. That's the number that we are doing. And you'll see when you get here on the other side, you will have the same one, which is, it's a little bit small. It looks a little bit smaller than the ones here at the top because it's on the side. So every time you get to these ones, you will know that this is the last one, which was the same here on this side, right here. So I have row number 3 now completed. I'll show you. So here we have the 3 rows with the loops completed. As you can see, to count, you're going to be counting like this, kind of diagonally. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, once you have more rows, you will see that it's very, very easy to count. It's not hard at all. Also, I'm going to be sharing the measurement that I did for mine, because then you can just measure, and that's way easier. I'm doing for mine 70 rows in total. I have my one ready right here that I'm going to be showing you how that looks very soon. But this is how you are going to be creating the little loops to create the base for this shopping bag. All right, so yeah, you just have to follow the steps from the very last row until you have the sizing that you want and you're going to be doing. So I'm going to now show you how mine looks, how my 70 rows of this pattern looks. It's pretty long, and I'm also going to be measuring that for you so that you can measure if you are using a different yarn weight. So from this, you're going to be continuing the rows from this and then you're going to be making as many rows as you need until you have something like this. As you can see, it's pretty long. I'm going to be measuring now here for you. As I already mentioned, I have here 70 rows in total for the loops. All right, I'm not counting the single crochets. The single crochets was just at the beginning. The 70 rows are just here for the loops. I have 70 rows in total, and then I've done 10 rows here for the single crochet. So in total I have 80 rows right now, in total, including the single crochets. So now I'm just going to be measuring this for you if you are wondering. I will try my best not to stretch this, because then you get the right measurement for this. I have 75 centimeters in total from right at the top of the single crochets, so 75 centimeters. So now let's move on into the next step. What we are going to be doing is basically creating the single crochets right here on the other side, right on top of the loops. It's a very simple, it's not complicated at all. I'm going to show you how to do that, but first let me show you how to finish this very last loop here from row number 70. So into here, the last loop, all you have to do is to create a single crochet instead of a slip stitch. That's the only little thing that you're going to be doing, and remember to do when you get into the very last row that you are doing. So now to create the single crochets right on top of this very last row, all you have to do is to chain 1, and then we are going to be turning our project. And then right on top of this single crochet, we are going to be doing another single crochet. If you want, you can place a stitch marker right here. I'm going to be placing one just so I show you how to come back, and then you can see this stitch very easily here in the video. And all you have to do now is to create a single crochet into every loop you can find. So this is the next loop. So right on top of this loop, we are going to be doing a single crochet. Find the next loop, right on top, single crochet. Find the next loop, right on top, make it nice and tight, and single crochet. And you want to have 29 single crochets in total. That's why I've created this single crochet here at the beginning, so that we have 29 single crochets, because we have 28 loops in total. So go all the way down, following the same steps. "27, 28, and then the last one here, 29. So we have 29 single crochets right here on top. So now we have to create single crochets right on top of these single crochets here, and we are going to be creating the same amount of rows as the beginning here, so 10 rows right on top of this one. This one does count as one row, so from here we are going to be creating 9 rows right on top. So to go into the next row, we are going to chain 1 and turn project, and then we are going to be follow the same steps as we've created the single crochets. Go into this very first single crochet and create a single crochet right on top of that. You can add another stitch marker here if you want to remind you that this is the very first single crochet. And now you can just follow the single crochets from the previous row and create single crochets right on top. So I'm getting here at the end, so I have 27, 28, and then here it's going to be my last one, 29. Remove stitch marker, and then right on top of that stitch, create the last single crochet. So now to go into the next row, it's exactly the same as the previous one. Chain 1, turn project, and then single crochet right into that very first stitch, and then single crochet all the way down, following the stitches, making sure that you have 29 single crochets. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do my single crochets on this side. I'm going to be having 10 rows on this side as well, exactly the same as we have here at the beginning. So I'm also going to be having the same on this side, and then once I have this one completed, I will be back, and then we are going to move on into the next step, which is basically creating the straps and the sides of the bag. So as you can see, I have created the other side, which is exactly the same as the very first one that we've created. The same size, the same height, the same width. As you can see, it's exactly the same as the first one. So now from here, we are going to be creating a chain that it's 60 centimeters long. I'm going to be creating my chain, and then I'll let you know how many chains I did, and also I'm going to be measuring that for you because I want to do 60 centimeters because that's, for me, the perfect sizing for a strap when you're talking about shopping bags. Also, I do the same for my tote bags, so I usually go for 60-65 centimeters. So I'm gonna go ahead and do here the chain, and then I'll come back to let you know more about this chain. So I have completed here the chain for my strap, and I've done a chain of 110. So without stretching, my chain is 52 centimeters, and then when I stretch, it reaches to 60 centimeters. So that's what you want to do. So I've done here a chain of 110. You can do less or more if you want. So now let's move on into attaching it here to the other side. So I'm going to be attaching it right here. Make sure that your chain is not twisted when you are doing this next part, because we are going to be attaching it into the other side. Here on the other side, find that very last single crochet, go through the single crochet and create another single crochet right on top. If you want, you can use a stitch marker, and then place a stitch marker into this very first single crochet right here, because this is going to be our point of reference. When we come back, we are going to be starting another row, a new row right here. We are going to be working continuously without stopping, all right, without having a beginning and the end for the rows here with the single crochets to finish it off. So when you get here into the single crochets, we have to create single crochets here on the sides, and it's going to be the same amount of rows that we have here. So we have 10 rows, so we will have 10 single crochets all the way to the end right here. So we have one already, so 2, 3, 4, 10 single crochets, counting from this very first one right here. So now we are going to be having the side of the bag, and we are going to be having these loops right here that we are going to be working with right now, and this goes until the other side, until the other single crochets, in which we're going to be repeating the same as we are doing here. So here on the side, you want to first chain 1, and then we are going to be creating a single crochet right on top of the loop. Chain 1 space, and then go into the next loop and create a single crochet right on top. Chain 1, single crochet right on top of the next loop. Chain 1, single crochet. So that's what we are going to be doing all the way through the side right here. So I got here at the end, as you can see, I have created a single crochet on top of this loop, so I have one last one to do. So chain 1, single crochet right on top of the last loop, chain 1, and now we have to create the single crochets on the side right here. So this is what we have so far. So we've created the chain for this strap, and then we started with the single crochets here on the sides of the bag to make it a little bit smaller, to close the bag a little bit in, so we have it nice and rounded as a mesh shopping bag. So what we have to do now is to repeat everything that we did right here on the other side. So now we are going to be continuing from where we left off. So right here we have to do the chain of 110, connect to the other side, create the single crochets here on the side of these single crochets, and then we have to repeat the same thing that we did here on the side of the bag. Exactly the same, the single crochet and the chain one, single crochet and chain one, right on top of the loops here on the side. And then I will meet you, because I'm going to be doing this off the camera as I've already explained to you how to do this. And then I'll meet you when I'm right here, when I've done the 10 single crochets on the side right here. So I have completed the other side, as you can already see right here, and this is what we have so far. It's looking so cool already. I've tried it on around my shoulders, and the length of the strap, it's perfect, exactly how I love it and like it. So I'm going to be leaving it like that. So 110 chains for my straps. So now we are going to be starting with the single crochets right on top of the very first strap right here, all the way to the other side, and then start our second row with single crochets. So what we have to do now is to go through the chain with single crochets, basically exactly the same thing as we did right at the beginning of the project. So find the very first loop here at the back of the chain. If you want, you can get the first loop. I just love the finishing that it gives when we get the back loops. So go through the back loop in my case, and then single crochet, and then go through the next one and single crochet, the next one and single crochet. All right, so that's all we have to do for this very first row here around the strap. So the single crochets going around the strap is completed. So I just got here into my stitch marker now, here on the other side. So now we are just going to be following the single crochets in the chain one here, in this case, on the side, to create another row of single crochets right on top. So this one is our point of reference. Here we are always going to be starting a new row. So remove the stitch marker. So the stitch marker was right here. I'm gonna use this stitch here to create the single crochet just so it's a little bit more secured. And then here we are going to be returning the stitch marker. So right here. And then from here we are going to be following the single crochets that we have from the previous row to create this row. So when you get here on the side, you will see that it's also very easy to find the stitches. They are all here. These little V's here are the stitches that we are going to be using. So go into the first one and single crochet. The next one, single crochet. So one, it's going to be the chain one, in which you're going to go kind of around the chain one, as you saw here. And then the next one is going to be the single crochet. The chain one, it's going to be having a little gap, so you go around it and single crochet. The single crochet, it's gonna have a stitch right on top, then you single crochet right on top of that. So here we have a chain one and then single crochet. That's all we have to do, just right on top. So I got here at the end. So now we have the single crochets. It's a little bit easier now to find the stitches. So just go all the way up where we have the single crochets until the strap here, and then we are going to be starting with the single crochets around the strap, and then go all the way around it, and then we are going to be repeating the same here on this side. All right, So let me see if I can show you what I'm going to be doing for this strap here, that it's kind of facing the other way. So here, right into that very first stitch chain, I'm going to be creating a single crochet. So once you've done that single crochet, we kind of want to twist the chain to find the back loop. So the back loops are right here, so just give it a little twist and find that very first back loop. It's a bit hard though, but it's just the first one that it's hard. And then go into the next one, and then right here we start exactly the same as we did to the other strap. So what we have to do now is to follow the same steps as we did on this strap and repeat the same here on this one. And then we are going to be creating the single crochets right on top of the side here. And then when we get to here, we are going to be continuing with the single crochets and continuing until we reach the stitch marker. So now it's pretty simple, everyone. You just have to create single crochets around and around and around until you have the thickness that you want. I have to do this strap here that I haven't done with the single crochets. We are now into our second row. This is our second row, the first one we did with the straps. So this is the second one, and when you get to here, the stitch marker is going to be the third row, all right? And then you start a new row. So you have to just go around and around until you have the thickness that you want for the sides and the straps. I'm not sure how many I'm gonna do. Maybe I can do around 3, 2.5, 3 centimeters, but I'll check back with you once I have this completed, and also I'll let you know how many rows I did. So right now, we have 2 rows completed. I'm gonna go into the third one when I get here, and then I'm just gonna continue going around and around and follow the same steps here with the single crochets until I have the thickness that I want. Oh my god, I'm super excited. This bag is so quick, super quick to make. I'm super excited. So here we have the straps completed. As you can see, I've just went around and around creating my rows until the thickness that I wanted. So that's how it looks. Right here I have 6 rows in total, and also this is what I have left from my 200 grams of yarn. I've used first the first ball, which was 100, and then I had to change to a new one, and this is what I have left. And right here, if you want the measurement, I've done exactly 2.5 centimeters. Okay, so if you want to do a little bit thicker, you can do a little bit thicker. If you want to do even thinner than this, you can also do that. This is just your preference and what you decide for your bag. And this is how it looks here on the side. I wanted to do a little bit thinner than here, the front and the back right at the top. So it's going to be up to you. So now we just have to finish it off, the transitioning from the single crochet to basically the finishing here. So all we have to do is to remove the stitch marker, and then here we are going to be doing a single crochet, and then into the next 2 stitches we are going to be doing slip stitches, just like this. And that's how you finish it off. So you're just going to transition from single crochet to a slip stitch so that it looks seamless like this. So once you've done that, you can chain 1, and now you can fasten off. So cut the yarn, leave a little bit so you can weave in, and then pull the yarn, give it a tug to fasten off. So now we can weave in. The weave in is super simple. I'm gonna show you how to do that now. First, grab your tapestry needle and you're going to be threading this yarn here into your tapestry needle. Decide which one you want to be the reverse. This is the reverse and this is my right side. You can see the single crochets here, the little V's, and here you can see, right, that it's the reverse. So once you have the side that you want to be the reverse, you can just go ahead and you can move this yarn here to the back, just like this. And now we can just thread this yarn and weave this yarn into a couple of stitches here at the back. Okay, once you're happy, we can now just cut this yarn and the weave-in is done. So now the only thing I have to do is to weave this other yarn here in, just like what I did to the strap, and we are done. So I'm just gonna do this weave-in and then I'll show you how the bag looks like. We are done, the bag's completed. Congratulations for completing another project here from my channel. Super excited about this bag. It looks amazing. Look at this. Oh my god, it's super cute, right? So fun. You can place your shopping here inside and then it's going to be ready to carry around. Look at that. How fun. Oh my god, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm just gonna place it here. You're probably not gonna be able to see everything because my camera doesn't get everything, but let me measure this for you. So from right at the top of the strap all the way to the bottom, we have 65 centimeters. That's the length for the bag when it's all completed, and the width, it's around 45 centimeters, but it does stretch quite a lot, so it can get even bigger than 45. You can see it got to 53 now. And also, if you want to do a lining for this bag, you can actually. So all you have to do is to measure right here before the finishing that we've created here. So just the mesh, so you're going to be cutting a lining exactly to that size. I would say that go for like a stretchy fabric like Lycra and then choose the color that you want. Usually it's the same color as the bag. You can choose any of these colors if you want. I would go maybe for like a nude so that you could see all the different shades here better. And if you want, another alternative is for you to get these little sacks. I have this one here that it came with something that I bought. So these ones here. So you can basically place these little sacks inside the bag, and then you can take with you, if you have something that it's smaller and that it can go through the little holes, you can just place it inside this bag and then you can close this bag and you're going to be keeping it safe inside the bag. That's what I usually do for these kind of bags that don't really have linings. I wouldn't make a lining for this particular bag because I think that this is the style for this bag, so you can see what's inside, especially that it's a shopping bag, so no one is going to kind of sneak through your bag because it's just food. But this is like something that you can actually do if you want this to be a little bit more kind of like a bag that you can take around. Maybe you can add a lining, even like a little closure here and there, or use a little sack like what I usually do. I always take something like this with me, even if I'm using a tote bag, because then if I have something that it's like that I have to hide kind of inside the bag, I just place it inside these little sacks and then all the way at the bottom of the bag. So this is something that you can actually do too. So yeah, if you end up making this bag, do tag me on Instagram if you post any pictures. I would love to see how yours turns out, and also the different colors that you're going to be using. If you make in one color, this bag, it's bomb. I love, love, love it. When I see people doing this bag in one color, they usually do pink, bright pink, and also like ecru color, which is like a beige. It looks really nice. Brown, green, so you can make in any color you want. I wanted to use this yarn because it's amazing. I love the ombre effect and all the colors that this yarn has, so I wanted to give this a try with a colorful yarn. So this is another idea that you can do, so super fun. So yeah, this is the bag. We are completed and we are done with today's tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to give this video a massive thumbs up as you always do. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also turn on the little notification bell to receive a notification every time I post a new video. I post here weekly, so I have new content every week for you to enjoy and for you to crochet something new. So thank you everyone again for watching today's video, and I'll see you all into my next one. Bye.